Thank you so much. And we have time for just one last question this evening. So we're just going to bring in our question asker. We have Thomas Ware on the line from Boston, Massachusetts. Thomas, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and share your video and ask your question.
Okay. Hello, Mayor Pete. Hi, Symone. I
Hello.
wanted I wanted to ask a little bit about about people talk a lot about how about get involved, make a difference, but a lot of times there's not a lot of sort of detail as to how to actually go about and do that. So I guess um, it would be nice to hear would be nice to hear a little bit about that.
How to get involved, how to make a difference. I think this is an excellent question to end on. Mayor Pete talked about this. He basically told y'all that he volunteered, that he was interested in politics, but he didn't really grow up thinking that politics was a job. And then he was vocal and he didn't like what he was saying, so he decided to do something about it. That is literally how we create change. That is what we're talking about when we're saying, join this League 46 is going to take all of us. Mayor, I often think about radical revolutionaries, right? And I think when I say radical revolutionaries, people think that I am talking about activists, going into the street, going to the die-in. Some of those folks, yes, those people are radical revolutionaries in their own right, but you're a radical revolutionary. Thomas, I would argue you are a radical revolutionary. Megan, putting together this event is definitely a radical revolutionary. And when I say that, radical revolutionaries are folks that in their everyday spaces and places find ways to create change, to move the needle. And Mayor Pete's way of being a radical revolutionary was running for state treasurer, was being vocal on issues, was running for mayor, was running for DNC chair, was running for president, and is now sitting here on this Zoom with all of us, talking to us about organizing and issues and, giving us the new book we all need to go buy. Like, he's a radical revolutionary every day. And so creating change seems like this huge, big, grandiose thing, but really it's about making a decision to do something. So your change might be that you want, green lettuce in your grocery store in your neighborhood, or that you want to get Donald Trump out of the White House in 2020. How do you go about doing that? Like, Mayor Pete, isn't it about creating a strategy? Like, you had to put a strategy together to run for state treasurer, right? I would assume.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think each of us can develop a kind of a personal strategy about what we bring to the table and how that fits in with what is needed to make a difference. So I definitely hear you, Thomas, in terms of the question you're asking about how exactly do I put to work, right? I've got the intention, but how do I connect up? Especially in a moment when there's not a brick and mortar field office necessarily that you can throw the door open to, walk in, sit down, and say, "Give me a call packet, let's go," because we're in this virtual space. But what you definitely have, first of all, is a network, right? So regardless of profession, the people in your world, I can't tell you how much more powerful it is for somebody to hear from somebody they know than to hear from a stranger. In our campaign, we called it relational organizing. It was a big part of all of the successes that we experienced, and it was just based on this idea that individuals can use, if you map your own world, people who would definitely pick up the phone because you were calling, and think about what it means to tell them, not necessarily any of the official campaign language you might hear from, but first, as authentically as possible, to speak to why you think it's important, why it's worth your while to be involved in the first place, and your truth about what draws you to being involved in this campaign. From a get out the vote perspective, from a grassroots fundraising perspective, from a persuasion perspective, even for those in our lives who are maybe a little more casual about politics. People we know who don't live and breathe this stuff, maybe don't like what's going on, but also kind of have a bit of a sense that none of it much matters. People who are used to voting Republican and convince themselves that they don't like this president, but they don't think it really matters who the president is. So only now we're seeing just how much it really does matter. You wouldn't believe how many people you might be able to nudge off the dime. And so between that and all of the specific things that certainly this 46 effort that Symone's talking about will do to build not just the fundraising apparatus, not just the kind of social media reach, but just the social culture of a community of people who care about how this election goes and are willing to do something to make sure it goes the right way. That's a big deal too. Spreading those values, those things. You should definitely look up Joe's campaign code and look at those values that are guiding how this is going to go forward, because you get a chance to reflect that. In addition to all the specific things tactically you're being called on to do, from being asked to participate in a virtual phone bank, to being asked to chip in financially, to all the other things that the campaign might turn to you to do. Just the way you do it will reflect what people think of this campaign, and might in turn motivate people who are on the fence about whether they were going to contribute, whether they were going to volunteer, or even whether they were going to vote.
Boom. Mayor Pete just gave you the strategy, Thomas. So he talked about relational organizing. Everybody right now can text APP, APP, to 30330. That will send you a link to download our Team Joe app. And our Team Joe app is literally how we relationally organize. And so it will connect you with some organizers on our actual campaign. It will have you comb through your contact list, and then it'll give you instructions on literally how to do exactly what Mayor Pete just said. Call up those friends, get them engaged and involved. So some of them you're asking, will you join our next YP fundraiser? Some of them you're asking, will you come to our next League 46 house party? Will you do this organizing event with me? Will you do a phone bank? But there is a roadmap to get it done.